We've been talking all week about managing a team, what that looks like, what that is, what that isn't, why it matters. And today we're going to talk about discoveries of the week. It's my favorite episode because this is where it all comes together and there's usually an aha moment or two. So if you've been paying attention all week, what's your aha moment? Put it in the comments. Otherwise, listen to hear what we're going to talk about. All that and more coming up next on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Happy Friday. Yay, it's Friday.
Good morning, Bob. How are you doing today? This Friday morning.
I'm good. It's all good. It's good.
Nice.
Rock and rolling.
Good to hear that. All right. I hope everyone else is enjoying their Friday morning. If you happen to be watching this on Friday morning, or maybe you're joining us a little bit later because you've been watching it on your favorite social media platform. Either way, we hope that all is well, and thanks for being a part of our show today. As you know, each week, Bob and I have a topic that we discuss, and then at the end of the show, we share our one thing we hope will have everyone move forward to take their next step. Although today is different because today is Friday, and so rather than our one thing, we share our discoveries of the week. Before we get to that, though, as we go through our conversation today, if you have thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share, or maybe your discovery of the week, please feel free to put it in the comments because we know that'll add value to the show. Whether you happen to be watching us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
Yes, LinkedIn Live. We know that it'll add value, and it might help someone else take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. We do, though, before we dive into our discoveries of the week today, we always share our celebration is where we start each episode. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
So I'm a big fan of thunderstorms. I really like a good thunderstorm. And yesterday I was lucky enough to be able to come home and sit out on the patio and watch a storm come in. And it came in, it took about 45 minutes. I heard thunder off in the distance, really faint, and it got louder and louder and louder. The wind picked up and it got darker and darker and darker. And eventually it started to rain and I had to take refuge inside. But for about 45 minutes, I got to see this powerful force in our world just come at me. And it was just breathtaking.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, how about you?
It's going to be fun. My celebration today is, yesterday morning I celebrated that I didn't have any other things scheduled. Today I'm going to celebrate that I actually did take advantage of that yesterday afternoon. I had some things that I kind of tried to clean up in the morning and then took the opportunity to sort of rest and relax. I've been feeling a little off. My throat's still bugging me a little bit. So I'll probably do much of the same today.
Okay. You sound a little froggy.
Little froggy. Yeah, my throat has been bothering me. Must have been all that talking I did on Monday, 5 hours on my feet, sharing with others. So
5 hours talking in a day for me would be a small amount.
Well, that was
people that know me are going, oh, there, the truest thing. There's a discovery of the week for him. We didn't think he knew that.
Well, I talked at other times during the day as well. It was just those 5 hours were very concentrated because I was doing it on my feet and sort of I had to think a lot more about what I was saying. So anyhow, all week we've been talking about managing a team, and I think we've had some interesting discussions. And so now we're going to share our discoveries of the week. Bob, what thoughts and ideas do you have around our week talking about managing a team?
You know, I kind of had a moment yesterday where I was thinking back to my bowling alley job, which is not one I typically run back to, but it occurred to me that I needed to be managed in that job at the beginning because I really didn't know what a porter at a bowling alley did. They hired me. There wasn't a job description. It was just like, I walked in, do you have a job? They said yes. And they trained me on what I was supposed to do. But as I said yesterday, they had this person at the counter they just happened to be there on the right day and they got the counter job and I got the porter job. The organization never figured out that we might flop duties or, full-time flop, or maybe flop duties just for 2 hours each day. And that if they had done that, I worked at that job for, I'm going to say, maybe 3-4 months. If they had given me more interaction with customers, I probably would have stayed longer and I would have grown more. And I think as a management tool, I look back on that and think, as a 16-year-old kid, they probably weren't really interested in putting a lot of investment in me. They were just trying to solve a problem. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they had what I would argue now was a real opportunity. And it was squandered because whoever the manager was, I have no idea. I couldn't even pick a name out of it if you gave me $1 million. Whoever that person was making those decisions didn't really was focused on tasks, not overall. And I think that was one of the things yesterday I really started to realize is that effective management is really looking at the whole, not just the clipboard. I need someone to do this and someone to do this, someone to do this. And that's a difficult ask because I think the minute that manager moves into that range, they become a leader, not a manager. And I think that goes to your premise from earlier in the week, which is there isn't really a manager. It's about being a leader.
Yes. And I think that sometimes, I think one of my realizations was that sometimes we need a manager. Mm-hmm. The bowling alley might have just needed someone. It wasn't like they interviewed you. It wasn't like you handed in a resume. No. They needed someone to do the odd tasks, and that became you. And at that point, it didn't really matter what your skill set was as long as you could do those tasks effectively, because that was the problem they were solving, as you mentioned. And I think sometimes that's needed and necessary. And that we come into organizations or teams or projects, and sometimes people need to be managed for a little bit, as we talked a little bit about yesterday. And I think that as we start to figure that out, we can transition from where we're at. And so I think that, I think on Tuesday I said that there is no need for a manager, because I think that was our topic, right? Why it matters. And I said it doesn't matter. And I think one of my discoveries was that is not the case, is that sometimes we do need a manager, and that skill set of things need to get done or things need to get back on track. And we need someone who says this. And, who knows? You don't know their perspective, is that maybe they needed that for 3 months because things had been a little chaotic, or maybe it was the summer and it was really the busy season. All these other things that went into it, they were like, all they really cared about was how do we make sure that the garbage gets taken out, or whatever all the tasks you were. At that time, that might have been the most important project they had. And they just needed someone, and they needed to manage that for that time frame.
Wow. Who'd have thought we'd be talking about my bowling alley experience? I would not have bet on that at all. And I think other experiences, it's interesting as I've gotten further in my career, just thinking about management versus leadership. The last 4 or 5 jobs, it's been about leadership. And the discussions around my role have been around leadership issues, not management issues. And maybe that's just the evolution of the employee from an entry-level starting worker up into more of a leadership role in their own world. And that just sort of plants itself in a lot of people.
Well, and maybe it's just the typical transition of new employees. They don't know anything, and so when you put someone through like an onboarding process, that's a little bit of management. And I think that not only gives you a chance to make sure that the interviewing process was as effective as you had hoped it would be, which would allow somebody to come in. And even as strong as they might be, there are a lot of things they don't know about the organization and how it works and how it operates. And so I think that it's sometimes valuable to have someone who does some managing at the start.
So I guess the question becomes, Tom, how do you know when to let go of managing the person and letting them have more control, which is a great preview for next week when we're going to look at that in a new way and think about what that looks like. Letting go a little bit, giving people more. I don't like the word autonomy because that makes it sound like they're completely on their own, but more self-direction maybe.
Well, I think that that's when you become a really strong leader, because a really strong leader understands, when do I need to manage? When do I need to lead? And when do I need to get out of the way? And I think that balancing all of that for the team or the organization or on the project is challenging, because anytime you have multiple people involved, they have multiple needs that sometimes are similar and more often are completely unique. And so as the leader, you have to figure out, okay, when do I need to manage this person and when do I need to lead them? And I think that is a skill set that takes a lot of practice to really understand. Because I think a manager treats everybody the same, right? They just come in and say, it doesn't matter. You all have to be in here at 8. You can stay. You have to work until 5, and then you can go home. And you all need to be doing your tasks. And you take a break, and everybody takes a break at the same time. And then you go to lunch later, and everyone follows the same path. And oftentimes they're waiting to be told what to do and how to do it. And so I think sometimes as a true leader is you figure out, when do I need to be a manager and when do I need to be a leader? And that both of those have a place in your organization, and balancing that, not even balancing it, how to find harmony in that is a tricky skill set.
Yeah. And I think it's one that, because each person you interact with and each situation you interact with and each organization you interact with, the complexity is huge because the permutations are so many. And so you could be very effective with this person in this situation, but the next day you could be dealing with a new person with a completely different situation. And what you did the day before didn't work as well.
Or the same person the next day with a different situation. I think that's the challenge, is that we are all unique and we're being impacted every day. What's real for us is impacted every day. And so as the leader, you don't always know what you're getting. People walk in the office or they start their day, and it could be completely different than the day before. And a strong leader is able to figure out what that team needs. And I think that's why, just being good at a task or a role doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be good as a leader, because there's so many more things that come into it. And I think that you could be good in a role and be a good manager, because you know the steps. The challenge is that so often, if you only do it the one way, how will you ever grow or learn and differently understand what's going on?
Most of the good leaders I've recognized are not good at doing the actual widget making. They're good at leading. That's their skill set. They understand the widget making, they understand the process, they understand the customer, they understand all the roles, but they are not suited to making widgets.
Yeah, well, I think there's different skill sets.
Yeah.
I think that's the piece that's hard, right? How do you identify leaders? If you're just
from a 1-hour interview.
What's that?
From a 1-hour interview.
Sure.
Based on a job description that was in place 20 years ago.
Well, even if the person works for you, just because they're really good at sales doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good sales leader or leader of a team of salespeople. Just means that they're really good at sales. And I think so often we take that jump And then they become a good manager, maybe, of sales. And that's not always what the sales team needs.
Right.
It's a good manager.
Right. And they lose something because this person was so good in sales, and now they're no longer doing sales.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Well, Tom, this has been a really interesting week. I went back yesterday and listened to Tuesday's episode again, and I would encourage people to go back. There are some real gems in there that I experienced freshly when I was listening to it yesterday. So if you're in that role of managing or leading, there are some really good lessons. Go back, and what episodes would they be, Tom?
So this is 639, 8. So I think 37, 36, and 35.
Yep. Okay. There you go. There you go. Homework for the weekend, if you so choose.
If you so choose. No doubt. And you shared your discovery of the week?
I did. I did.
Excellent. I want to make sure you got your opportunity.
I got it. I got it in.
So you teased it a little bit. What is our discussion next week, Bob?
It's going to be about letting go. And as a leader, how to know when to let go, what that looks like, how that feels, some of the challenges with that, and some of the opportunities with that. So that'll be for anyone who's leading or trying to figure out how their leader works with them. It'll be a really good discussion. I think it's the next step in this ongoing thing where we talked about independence, dependence, managing, and now we're going to that idea of letting go, which is moving more towards leadership.
I like it. That'll be fun to talk about. I'll have to think about that this weekend. All right, everyone. If you have a discovery of the week that you'd like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments. Or if you're listening to the podcast, we know there's no place to share your thoughts and ideas.
Are we working on that, Tom?
Are we working on that?
Yeah, a way for them to share their thoughts and ideas. You bring it up every day. I feel like there's a solution waiting to come. Like, one day we're going to have the podcast app that allows you to comment.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right.
The solution to it is, though, just go to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and you can share your thoughts and ideas there. We even have a post up that asks for your discovery of the week. So you can share that about managing a team, or you can share it about something else that you discovered. Because there are people inside of that group looking for how to take their next step. And you might be looking as well, and somebody might share a discovery of the week that helps you take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. So we look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and have a great, great weekend.
Yes. And get some rest.
Yeah, rest. That's a good idea. I like that idea.
It can be really beneficial.
I've heard that.
Yeah. All right, everybody, go out and have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.